Briana Boston. Who is that, you might be saying? Well, people are calling her a copycat. Now, in order to be a copycat, you have to do exactly what the person before you did, which she didn't. But again, listen, we're going to talk about her. So this is an article from local news channel 8. Let's go ahead and talk about this here and pull up for all of you to read. Briana Boston has been placed under house arrest after she was granted a pretrial release with bond, court documents show. She is also under GPS monitoring. Now, I want to play a video here. All right. Now, as it stands right now, at least from what I'm hearing, this is the comments that the judge said to her. You could kind of see the look of joy on her face. So let's go ahead and hear it out very carefully. But folks, again, this story is still developing. So anything can happen, but very much well, like the healthcare CEO assassination trial will be taking place in Pennsylvania. This is another story we have to keep an eye on too. Because again, people are forgetting how angry society is right now. So let's go ahead and play this video.
$100,000 is appropriate considering the status of our country at this point. I will, if she is released, she'll be on home detention with GPS conditions, so she won't be released until GPS is provided to her. That will be at her own expense. She can leave for court, attorney appointments, medical appointments, and work. She can go to church, and one day a week she can go shopping for groceries. She can have no contact with anyone from the insurance agency, which is the victim in this case. And anything else, Dave? No weapons, no firearms, no ammunition.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, is that it? Anything else? All right, thank you, sir.
Take care.
Okay. So she right now is in a fight. She's in a fight. Now, what's happened? Her house arrest allows for various conditions, such as once a week shopping and the ability to attend medical appointments, church, work, and yes, I believe even legal appointments too. I'll play that video again just so we can all hear it again. Criminal defense attorneys are poking holes in the case against Briana Boston, a Lakeland woman who was arrested for allegedly making threats against her insurance company. I don't think a reasonable person would perceive this as an actual threat, attorney Gary DePury said. DePury is not representing Boston, but said the lawyer who is representing her should push for a speedy trial. This is in the news right now, and people are angry, DePury said. They're siding with the murderer in New York, which I disagree with. At this point, that benefits its defendant. Boston was accused of making reference to the December 4th murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian in Manhattan while talking to Blue Cross Blue Shield representative about a denied claim. Got to keep it together. Does it come as any surprise when an innocent person is pushed too far? Does it come as any surprise why people get angry or sad or upset at our healthcare insurance industry? She allegedly said, this is in the article, delay, deny, depose, you people are next. Attorney said the words delay, deny, depose were written on the shell casings found at the Manhattan murder scene. It's not like she's a child, said Lakeland Police Chief Sam Taylor in an interview Thursday. She's 42 years old. We're not dealing with a child here. She should certainly know better. Now, it's very clear. She made a statement. Did it need to escalate to that point that she's facing with now? I don't think so. Speech of this nature, where you're having to look at an outside event to try and glean what her intent might have been, intent's one of the most difficult things to prove in the criminal justice system, said Rusty Franklin, a Polk County criminal defense attorney who's not affiliated with Boston's case. Boston is facing a charge of written threat to, again, delete or injure, conduct a mass shooting, or an act of terrorism. All right. The statute said the statute does not include making these prohibited statements by telephone call, Franklin said. At Boston's first appearance Thursday, an assistant state attorney requested elevated bond. Given the nature of the threats, we would also be asking for GPS with the house arrest conditions to protect the community, said Assistant State Attorney Matthew Hendry in court. A spokesperson for the state attorney's office said the case remains under investigation by the Lakeland Police Department, and until the investigation is completed, the state's attorney's office cannot comment. The judge said Boston's bond at 100,000. Why did I say 10? 100,000. I do find the bond of 100,000 is appropriate considering the status of our country at this point. Judge Catherine Combine said. The government's going to have a difficult time with this case, Franklin said. If this had happened 10 years ago, never would have been arrested ever. Franklin said he thinks the case could have been dropped, and it could have been probably. Again, not a lawyer here, but this is what one defense attorney is saying. DePury said the statute has survived scrutiny when it comes to free speech, but also expects Boston to avoid the harshest penalties. Boston could be sentenced up to 15 years in prison if convicted of the second-degree felony she's currently facing. Usually something like this would end up in a plea agreement where she takes a few classes, anger management classes, things like that, DePury said. A family member of Boston declined to comment on the case at their home. So again, if you missed out, here is the full video as well. So let's go ahead and play it again and observe.
$100,000 is appropriate considering the status of our country at this point. If she is released, she'll be on home detention with GPS conditions, so she won't be released until GPS is provided to her. That will be at her own expense. She can leave for court, attorney appointments, medical appointments, and work. She can go to church, and one day a week she can go shopping for groceries. She can have no contact with anyone from the insurance agency, which is the victim in this case. And anything else, Dave? No weapons, no firearms, no ammunition.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, is that it? Anything else? All right, thank you, sir.
Take care.
So that's what happened. So I just also want to pull up something else here as well, because this has also been gaining a lot of attention. She does have a GoFundMe. Okay, so that's pretty interesting right here. But as it stands, a GoFundMe account for Briana Boston, the mother of 3, who was arrested for allegedly, I'm saying this, allegedly threatening health insurance company Blue Cross Blue Shield's customer care representative with the words "delay, deny, depose," has now raised over $27,000. Daniel Boston, Briana's husband, and the organizer of the GoFundMe campaign, states that the proceeds will go towards the bond payment and legal fees for Briana Boston. Yesterday, Daniel Boston commented on his page confirming that reports about Briana Boston's legal situation being fully resolved were incorrect. He clarified that her legal status has not changed, that the only change was her release from physical custody, he wrote. So in other words, nothing. She's able to be at home, but she is nowhere out of the woods yet. Okay. We're all in our own situations. Sometimes we're all in a big old pickle. And so this is what's happening to her. He also emphasized that he would take down a GoFundMe campaign immediately if Briana is no longer in legal jeopardy. So that GoFundMe is still going to be up there. Okay. Briana Boston was charged with threats of conduct a mass shooting and act of terrorism that faces up to 15 years behind bars. In a video shared on X, the judge outlined the conditions of Briana Boston's release during a court hearing, the judge said. Now, I want to pull up something else here. Okay, because this also caught my attention, and I want to give a huge shout out to Case Study QB, because we got to talk about the overall anger that people are facing right now. Okay, so let me just remove this here. Okay, I just want to pull this up here because there is anger, there is fury, there is rage. Okay, and so long as people are upset about this, people are going to keep on talking about this. So first of all, there are people who are saying that Bernie Sanders and Warren talking about the healthcare insurance industry, it's not right. They shouldn't be talking about it. But see, MSNBC continue to wonder why the ratings are decreasing. Okay, so I want to pull up this video here, and CNN. Okay, so mainstream media is wondering why their viewership is declining. So I want to pull this up here.
This has made the cover of the New York Post, which is showing a game of whacked deck, most wanted CEOs. This is definitely something that obviously has a lot of business community talking, but clearly the sympathy level from the American public is not terribly high.
Clearly not. And what you're seeing is a little bit, I think, Elizabeth Warren, Chris Murphy, Bernie Sanders listening way too much to the online left and stacking these answers as we've seen, especially over the weekend with, yes, this was bad, and then, and then positioning into some healthcare policy debate. Chris Murphy was the one who did it last night in this kind of weird homemade video. He's trying to, I think, the senator from Connecticut is trying to start a populist revolution, which is very interesting. But you're right, like they are just very lost on this right now, Democrats, and they are just trying to shoehorn a policy argument into a cold-blooded murder, and it's It boggles my mind.
Anytime you have to have but after a statement that's
Yeah.
about a cold-blooded murder in broad daylight, there is a problem.
Yeah.
And these statements are gross and abhorrent, and they should not be out there. Two things can
So hold on, I wanted to see something here in my audience. Hold on. Where is it at? Flex Dig says, "Here comes the propaganda." Yes, actually. So there you go. And also, and wait. People need to rewatch The Incredibles and then Scrooge to remind them of what's happening. Yes, The Incredibles and Scrooge. Yeah. You know, are you talking about the remake for Scrooge? It's one starring Bill Murray, Rebecca Freeman. Because if so, oh, hitting right at the heart, right there, and right at the heart. And by the way, quote Little Timmy, "God bless us, every single one of us."
be true, right? This is a murder that is horrible and awful. And there also could be a need for a policy debate. Do not use a cold-blooded murder to have that policy debate. It is gross if they are doing that.
And you know what the tell is really quick also? Like Chris Murphy's career-defining issue is gun violence and gun control. Not once in this video did he talk about gun control at all,
And
right?
he had ghost guns.
Exactly.
Which there's been policies made about ghost guns in this administration.
Exactly, right? Like that, that's the biggest tell.
Yeah.
Mark Preston, I mean, I do think that this is the root of this, right? The idea that we as a nation should not be having our political debates through violence. And while clearly Americans are very upset about the healthcare system, to the extent that members of Congress are going to say, well, we got to change this because of violence, it's kind of a dangerous place to be.
Dangerous place to be. And I'm just going to overuse it.
The thing is, okay, why has this gained a lot of momentum? Okay. People are talking about Medicare for all. And look, when someone's denied health care and they see something like this, you know, can you imagine what it's like? And you know what? Some of you watching, no matter what state you live in or city you live in or town you live in, some of you watching this morning show right now, like, yeah, I have dealt with it. In fact, hold on. Let's have democracy in the chat. Maybe this one hits a little too close to home, but I need to hear your voices. The world needs to hear your voice. Have you dealt with a rejection letter from an insurance company, be it yourself or family member or friend? Type 1 for no, kid, I haven't. And thank goodness. Type 2, yes, I have. And the pain is all too real. Now, again, I want everyone to be respectful with their comments, posting this in there, telling us your story if you want to. But folks, it is very real. And many of you were kind enough to share your story. And haha, I got to kick out my Ninja Cunning Onion roommate. But I'm seeing a lot of 2s in the chat. I'm very sorry. That's not good enough, but I'm very sorry that happened to you.
This word, so forgive me, but it's absurd. It's absurd that we're at this point where there's so much anger right now that people are just directing it and supporting it without really knowing quite what the...
Oh, see. Back from the road. 2. I owe $127,000 on my dad's cancer. They started collecting before he died. Back from the road, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. That's not good enough. I'm sorry.
Consequences are. You know what else is absurd too is the governor. God bless her for having a hotline for CEOs. But I got to tell you what about all the other folks in New York City who are facing like awful crime every single day, you know, and they can't get any help and the police don't have enough money to police the streets. Let's make sure those CEOs are taken care of.
But also,
Natalie Williams got denied right before I lost my job. I am sorry.
these CEOs and these corporations can hire security. I traveled with the CEO all over the world. We had private security. So the fact that he didn't have security is also worrisome on a lot of levels. That does not, I'm not by any way saying this is justified.
Hey, to the pundits, why don't you talk to my audience here? Why don't you talk to my people here? Tim C. Mansker, one night stay in a hospital, $23,000. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Very sorry indeed. I couldn't get a back scan and I have United Healthcare. I was told it had the best healthcare. I'm sorry, Great Britain. Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Everybody. I think these people at CNN need to speak to you. Tell your story.
But they do not need a hotline to the police. They can hire their own security and work with their different protective units in the police department.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, it is this that privileging of elite problem is a lot of what is driving the populism in our politics today.
Oh, 1,000%, 1,000%.
And even now, we're just seeing this. Like the backpack maker is getting threats. The CEO of Peak Design, because they helped identify the shooter.
Why do the McDonald's workers, why are people threatening them? I mean, they did something that was right, but...
Again, corporate media doesn't seem to understand the bigger picture here about why people are angry. Miss Witchy Perfect. My aunt died of brain, blood, and bone cancer and told me that chemo and radiation therapy, I believe, were $40,000 a pop. Again, I'm very sorry. That's not good enough. Saying I'm sorry isn't good enough. It's not right. To all of you who were kind enough to share your story, it should not have happened. In a better world, things are different, but we can make it happen. We just got to fight.
Yet we want to like castigate them for it and threaten them for doing the right thing. It's crazy.
Oh, all right. On that note, 53 minutes.
Now, on that note, I want to pull up one other article here because we got to talk about it. We have to talk. We have to talk. All right. So this is from The Guardian. Sometimes I'm not a fan of them, but this is an opinion piece, and I was entitled to an opinion. Delay, denied, deposed, detained. Sit yourself down and let out a big sigh of relief. Thanks to the tireless work of Florida police force, everyone in the U.S. can now feel a little bit safer. On Tuesday, Florida's Lakeland Police Department charged Briana Boston, a 42-year-old mother of three, with threats of conduct of mass shooting or an act of terrorism. But what did she do exactly? She was rude to a customer service representative. Boston had reportedly just had a medical claim denied by her health insurance company, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and allegedly said to the person on phone, delay, denied, depose, you people are next. This appears to have been in reference to words written on the ammunition discovered at the scene of the killing of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. Boston has apologized for what she said and reportedly told police she didn't mean anything by it. Okay. You know, maybe this is King Kit Hadrian Cabello I being merciful here, but it's like, okay, you apologized. And there you go. Move on. But no. And there's a reason. With the information we have now, to think otherwise, referencing a high-profile assassination was obviously extreme poor judgment on her part. I could see that perspective, but people are angry. Imagine being denied health care. And from what I read here in my live stream audience, you know, 127,000 to a bare minimum of what, 23,000? You know, give or take for some of these claims. It's a lot of moolah. It's a lot of money. M-O-N-E-Y. However, to any reasonable person, the whole thing sounds like a woman lashing out at a corporation rather than a credible death threat against an individual. Boston has never had any criminal charges. Sorry, hold on. I didn't speak English properly. Boston has never had any criminal charges or convictions, according to her attorney. Wait a minute. Hold on. Boston has never had any criminal charges or convictions, according to her attorney. She also told police that she doesn't own any guns, and if the police found any in her house, they haven't shared this information yet. So she doesn't have any weapons. Interesting. If Boston's home is later found to have a bunch of disguises, a 3D printed gun, and a manifesto, I will, of course, eat my words and any hats that are available. As it stands, charging Boston with threats to conduct a mass shooting or an act of terrorism seems a hell of a lot of an overreach, which I agree with. Hey, the rare times I agree with The Guardian or an opinion piece from The Guardian. Hey, Hey, sometimes it happens. I agree with this. As does the fact that the judge setting her bond at $100K. The charge is a second-degree felony, which could be punished by up to 15 years in prison if she's convicted. The good news, however, is that the police seem to be interested in taking vague threats seriously now. So if that's the case, like the court, invite them to come over to my house and take a look at some of the correspondence I get sent, like every woman who has been terminated to express an opinion on the internet. Oh my goodness. Yes, because folks, the internet can be a very hostile place. All of you know about the internet. I mean, my goodness, look at X, okay? Look at YouTube comment sections. The internet, and I'm just referencing two things. The internet as a whole is filled with a lot of craziness, a lot of statements. Look, if you can't handle the heat of the internet, you need to get out of the kitchen. But okay, hey, boss, to the police, go to this woman's house and check out her the threats that she gets. Hey, look, sometimes we get mean comments too. I get mean comments all the time. 7 years doing this. This comes as no surprise to me. Anyways, continuing on. Again, I rarely get sent death and assault threats. Got to be careful. It's the R word. I rarely get people harassing me with language that is a lot more explicit than delay, deny, depose. I normally just get ignored by all this. It's best not to feed the trolls, and no, the police won't do anything. But at one point, when I got extremely unsettling objects sent to my home address, I went to the police. What did they do? Yep, you've guessed it. Absolutely nothing. My experience with the police is extremely common. Forget online harassment. Police don't even take it seriously when a woman is being physically stalked or abused. You can find endless stories from all over the world about the police ignoring or minimizing violence against women. That's terrible. There's a case of California woman, Pamela Motley, for example, who received violent threats from her ex-husband, Paul Motley. Police made no attempt to arrest him and even told Pamela that she should not be too worried because these guys only follow through 1% at a time. Oh, outstanding police work. Where's Batman when you need him? Paul then shot Pamela in the face, paralyzing her. Even high-profile celebrity like Lily Allen has talked about being failed by the police when she was stalked for 7 years. According to Allen, the police didn't take her stalk seriously until he entered her home and stole her handbag. With the justice system that obsessed with property rights, there's very little space for keeping women safe. One activist commented about Allen's case at the time. The police's newfound zeitgeist for taking threats seriously hasn't gone unnoticed online. As soon as Boston's story went public, social media was full of viral stories from women about how the police had ignored harassment because the crime hadn't been committed. The double standards are stark. I bet pretty much everything I have if instead of threatening a health insurance company, Miss Boston had gone to the police and told them that she was being stalked by an abusive ex-boyfriend, they would have shrugged their shoulders and told her there was nothing they could do until she had actual proof her life was in imminent danger. The seemingly disproportionate response to the 42-year-old mother's outburst appears to be an attempt by law enforcement and the legal system to make an example out of Boston. That's what it looks like to me, too. I do find that the bond of $100K is appropriate considering the status of our country at this point. The judge said in Boston's case, it's clear as resentment towards health insurance companies in the U.S. reaches boiling point, the judge and the police want to send a message. Mission accomplished. They sent one. The message being, we care more about the protection of wealthy CEOs than everyday violence against women. You know what else the message is, too? I'll tell you what the message is. How dare you complain about our system? How dare you bring up a loved one who's gone? Oh, how dare you tell us your story? The health insurance companies are fine. You know, sorry, I didn't mean to cry up or tear up a little bit. But when I read some of your stories, all right, I'm doing the best I can to keep an eye on the chat. It hits close to home because I've lost loved ones. Did Briana Boston really have to get that bail of $100K? Does she really have to be made an example of? Okay, maybe she said something out of anger. Maybe she should not have said it at all. Okay, there. But she was passionate. Maybe it's because if she doesn't get the care or treatment, it's oh no. How will this hurt my finances? That's every day in this country. Share this story. Share the story on social media. Because in 2025, people have to speak out. The politicians aren't going to help us. I'm so sorry. They're not going to help us. We're on our own. And we have to stand together. But we're doing it for those that aren't with us anymore. We owe them that. We owe them that.